Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers defeat the Red Wings by a score of 4-1 in Detroit, and the Rangers continue their road dominance. Now at 7-1-1 away from Madison Square Garden, it's really one of the most remarkable and crazy things that you'll see. Really, you may not see something like this for a very, very long time. The fact that the Rangers are 0-5-1 at home, so in other words, they've gotten 1 out of a possible 12 points at home to this point, and then on the road, they've gotten 15 out of 18 possible points. It's just that would be kind of somewhat tough to find even if it were flips, right? Like, it'd be more likely, you would think, but even then it would be, statistically tough. This is just totally out of control. But hey, the Rangers have really been good away from home. We'll talk about, the upcoming game back to back, quick turnaround home against the Islanders and how, the importance of that and for the Rangers to really, end the home struggles, which obviously has been a major talking point and deservedly so. But the Rangers here against a Detroit team that's been playing pretty well this season, especially at home. I believe, I mean, they were coming off of a road trip, but I believe coming in, they had a 5-game home win streak. And I believe I had alluded to this last episode. The Rangers have had, if I didn't, I'll say it now. The Rangers have had their success against Detroit the last few years, whether it's been home or in Detroit. They have really had their number, and the Rangers were the better team in this game. Like, the Red Wings ended up out shooting the Rangers, but I actually feel like that was a little bit misleading. I mean, Detroit outshot the Rangers 33-26. Um, from a player's standpoint, let's begin, I guess, with Artemi Panarin. He had a really good game. And, it's a 3-point night for Panarin. And the funny thing is that he actually shaved his head. Um, Not right before the game, but I guess either, I'm not sure, earlier in the day or maybe it might have been the day before. Um, and we saw Panarin, bald Panarin, in the 24 season, the 23-24 season, where the Rangers won the President's Trophy, and Panarin was fantastic. So, look, I don't think it's that simple where all of a sudden now he's going to just turn it on. But look, like, first game, and he's able to deliver 3 points, gets a goal, definitely looked a lot better. That's what you're looking for. And hey, if that is going to be a reason for him to basically turn a season around, then I'm all for it. And it has worked for him before. So, Panarin was the star of the game for sure. Um, in goal, Jonathan Quick really has been in his 4 games this year great. And, he knows his role. He knows he's the backup, great teammate, obviously cup experience, but just the fact that he's producing like this, that's really helpful, right? I mean, because throughout the course of the season, even if Shesterkin is healthy, right? Let's say that he is, Jonathan Quick, you're going to need him, for 25 to 30 games, something like that, right? Like, and, last year I felt as if the extremes were a lot, and more so probably on the bad side where you know, but I've doubted Jonathan Quick a lot. Like, when the Rangers signed him, I was kind of unsure about that. Like, and yet every time he kind of proves me wrong, because look, he's up there in age for sure. It's been a long time since he was that guy, the unequivocal #1 Los Angeles Kings starter. Like, it's been a while since, like, he's been in that position, but he's found this new role, and credit given, I had figured that he'd probably get the Detroit start. He did, and he delivered. And it was one really amazing play, because I want to say now, in case I forget when I go through the game, where Quick turns it over. He did the smart thing. It was in the second period. Range at this point, I believe we're up 2-1. And he, basically tries to shoot it away from Patrick Kane, who's coming in. Again, Quick did the right thing by going out. If Kane comes in, he's got a breakaway, basically. But he doesn't get it past Kane. He hits Patrick Kane. And by the way, Patrick Kane, who had been out, it was his first game back, and probably, I think he missed 9 games or so. And Patrick Kane ends up basically getting the puck. I'm trying to describe this the best way possible. He basically beats Quick to the puck, and Kane is in a position where he eventually kind of has just an open net right there. Quick is basically, if you're looking at it from like a TV standpoint, in that angle, he's basically to the right. I'll say it this way: if you're behind the net, he's to the left of the net, the Ranger net, and Jonathan Quick's trying to get back there. And Quick, I don't know how Kane didn't score, but Quick is able to basically lunge and use his stick to impede Kane from easily just pushing it right into the net. And by him doing that, Schneider and Susie get back in time to basically take Kane out, right? Because that alone wouldn't have done it. If there was no one else there, Kane would have still, that's how easy this was. Kane would have still been able to get that in. But yeah, just a desperation play by Quick. And then he gets a little bit of help from his friends and, no goal. So that was, kind of, it was his fault that it got to that point. But, pretty remarkable. I still don't know how Kane wasn't able to just slide that one past the goal line. But besides that, Jonathan Quick has been just brilliant in his 4 starts this season, improving to 3-1. And then want to give a shout out as well to, and there's others that we'll talk about, but before we go into it, Noah Laba, who scores a goal. It's actually the game winning goal. And, he was a Red Wing fan growing up. So had a lot of friends and family in the building, from Michigan. That's a big deal for him. And again, he just continues to be a real bright spot and played almost 16 minutes. The Rangers switched up their lines a bit. So let's talk about that. Vincent Trocheck's still not back. My hunch is that he won't be back for the Islander game, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if all of a sudden he's activated and in there. But Trocheck made the trip, but he was not in the lineup. Still, again, on long-term IR. And on the defensive side, it's Vakanainen's still out with that lower body injury. And it seemed like there was maybe a chance that Connor Mackey would have somehow found his way in the lineup, but they ended up sticking with Matthew Robertson. So, Mackey is still looking for his first regular season game with the Rangers. Has not happened yet. And they stuck with the defensive pairs, although it seemed like they were kind of mixing up a little bit. I felt like at times, but it started out with Borgen and Susie and Schneider with Robertson. But it seemed as if Sullivan was kind of mixing it up a bit as the game was kind of moving along there. But on the forward side is where it's a little bit more interesting. Adam Edstrom was a scratch, and to me, it was mainly a healthy scratch, although Sullivan had said that there were some bumps and bruises. And so I guess it was maybe somewhat injury related, but I kind of took it as a little more healthy scratch, which is somewhat notable because Adam Edstrom, last year, for example, he made the team last year. He made the team, and I don't think he was a healthy scratch one game until he got hurt. So look, just something to kind of keep in mind. And again, I had said that, Nomad Rempe, in a way, not that they're connected at the hip, but I think they actually are good friends off the ice. But I don't know. I feel like Edstrom hasn't been bad, but I certainly him being out the scratch, I think is within the realms of, I think it's reasonable that Mike Sullivan would have done that. And we'll see Edstrom again probably very soon. But he's at the lineup, and coming into the lineup, making his NHL debut, was Yaroslav Hamelash. And he actually gets into a fight, which was, certainly not, I don't think he's known for that. But actually, yeah, in the third period, he fights Travis Hamonic. So, the rookie fighting the, 15, 16-year vet. But, and holding his own in that fight. But, he didn't play much. 6 minutes and 27 seconds, 9 shifts. He was on a line with Carrick and Parsonen. But hey, we'll see, if he's in against the Islanders. My guess would be probably because they won. But here's the thing, when Trocheck comes back, he will almost certainly be sent down. But they're rewarding him for what he did in Hartford. And, while I don't think he necessarily stood out, again, I guess in that fight, doesn't really make any noticeably terrible negative plays, and we'll see where it goes from there. But you definitely saw a lot more, and really what was actually a very good line, the Laba line with Connor Sherry. And I got to say, this was one of Connor Sherry's best games of the season. He drew 3 penalties, and I'll give him credit here. He has been drawing. he probably is up there in terms of drawing penalties. I've noticed that with him. So as much as I've kind of been more of a detractor when it comes to him, and just it's more so like he just shouldn't be in the top six. For Connor Sherry, if he's in the bottom six and utilized properly, I can live with that. And he makes a nice pass as well on a goal by Alexi Lafreniere. Really nice bank pass off the board. So um, credit where it's due. And Johnny Brodzinski was also on that line. So again, like on paper, obviously Laba has been really good, but Laba with Sherry and Brodzinski as basically a third line, it's not really what you're looking for. But hey, it was really effective and did a lot of good things. And so, yeah, the lines were juggled a bit. Taylor Radish played with Panarin and Zibanejad, and they did good enough. Certainly, there was some power play success, which we'll talk about as well, which was good. And there was a switch there. JT Miller was centering Cooley and Lafreniere. Speaking of Cooley and Lafreniere, Cooley took Lafreniere's spot on the number one power play unit. And I guess that's maybe where we'll segue. At 6:28, Andrew Kopp, the former Ranger, hooks Connor Sherry. And the Rangers score on the power play pretty quickly. In fact, 18 seconds into that power play, it's Will Cooley, who has really been playing better lately. Bit of a tough start for him, but it's coming around. Like the results are there. And even still, I feel like there's more to be had with Will Cooley, but it's been a steady, positive, situation for him. Third goal of the year, assisted by Zibanejad and Panarin. Really nice pass by Zibanejad. Because this was a play where the Rangers lose the draw. It's in their own zone. Fox to Panarin gets it past the blue line, and Zibanejad with a nice pass finds a streaking Cooley, and he scores against former Ranger Cam Talbot. So that's 1-0 Rangers there. But, well, not yet. 7:21, Adam Fox holds Lucas Raymond, but the Ranger penalty kill gets the job done. Ranger penalty kill was really good in this game, and it's been playing well this year. It's, I think, 8th in the NHL. It really could even be better than that. So Ranger penalty kill actually goes 4 for 4 success rate. And, special teams plays a role, obviously, because you get that power play goal. And then we'll talk about another goal the Rangers have that was kind of somewhat power play related. But unfortunately, Detroit does tie it up at 11:06. It's a goal scored by JT Compher. His third goal of the season, assisted by Appleton and Kopp. And this is a play where Schneider kind of gets caught behind the net a little bit. Things get kind of twisted up where Lafreniere was in the mix trying to follow Kopp, but it was Schneider who got a little aggressive, and it leads to JT Compher being open right in the slot, and he scores against kind of an unsuspecting Quick. I don't think Quick was really ready for it. Compher with the quick shot, and it ties it up at 1. Rangers would take another penalty at 15:46. Gavrikov is called for holding Dylan Larkin, but the Rangers kill that one off as well. And you leave the period tied 1-1. And again, I thought it was a decent start for the Rangers. It in hindsight, it was probably the worst of the 3 periods that was played by the Rangers in terms of giving up some solid chances for Detroit there. And I thought the Rangers kind of tightened up more as the game went on, and it helps to have a lead. Speaking of that potential lead, at 2:39, Albert Johansson trips Connor Sherry. And while the Rangers don't score on that power play itself, they keep the possession in the offensive zone. And so it's kind of like a combination in a way of some of the power play 2 guys, including Lafreniere, although Panarin was on. I feel like Panarin might have been on for that whole power play. And at 4:52, the hometown boy Noah Laba scores his 3rd goal of the season from Lafreniere and Panarin. So at that point, 2 points for Artemi Panarin. And this was a play where Panarin is able to basically find Lafreniere, makes a cross-ice pass, and Lafreniere kind of puts it in the direction of Noah Laba, and Laba is able to bat it out of the air under the crossbar by a mile, and in. So again, Laba getting to the areas of the ice you got to get to. If you want to score goals in this league, you're going to have to do it in places that isn't comfortable. And Noah Laba, I'm just really impressed by what I've seen. Again, not much was expected of him. Noah Laba really didn't come into the real surface, if you will, as far as making this team really until like going into training camp. I think he had some buzz around him, but even still, like the expectation probably would have been that everything being equal, that Noah Laba, even if he had a solid training camp, that he would make the team, but he absolutely deserved to make it, and he is making an impact. And I think Sullivan's a big fan of him, and it's just really nice to see a fourth round pick from 2022 really contributing in a pretty big way. So Laba makes it 2-1. Then again, somewhere in the mix here, you had that Kane play where Quick was able to keep it out of the net. And there were times, look, as much as the Rangers were up 2-1, there were certain moments for sure where it felt like Detroit could have tied it. So it's not as if the Rangers totally pulverized them, but in terms of real grade A opportunities, real high danger scoring chances, Rangers had way more than Detroit. At 11:05, Will Borgen hooks JT Compher. Again, penalty kill does the job. And then in 1933 of the second, Axel Sandin, uh, Palelka, I think I got that right. Cross checks Connor Sherry. And the Rangers, that wasn't a great power play by them. And it always hurts when the period separates it definitely, I find that it definitely it's tough for the team that's on the power play. But I think a theme for the Rangers has been like that the power plays, and maybe this is a thing. Maybe the penalty kill, they make the adjustments, but I feel like just for the Rangers, that the power plays tend to get worse as the game goes along. But again, they do get the power play goal earlier, and the Laba one was kind of an extension of the power play. So for a power play that's in the bottom of 4 in the NHL, it's much needed. It has to get better, and hopefully this was a sign of that. But they don't get the job done here to start the third. And you had a situation where probably about 5-6 minutes in to the third period, Will Cooley blocks a shot and was in severe pain. Needed help getting off the ice. It was a scare. Luckily, he came back and he was no worse for wear. You see that sometimes where, on the one hand, like, look, worst case scenario, it could be really bad. But I remember there's many times where players block a shot and it's like, fuck, like, needs help going to the locker room, and then he's back, right? Just kind of the adrenaline wears off, shakes it off, and these guys are tough, Will Cooley included. So that was good. And within that time, while he's kind of not there, the Rangers take a 3-1 lead. Artemi Panarin scores his third goal of the season from Zibanejad and Radish. It's actually Taylor Radish's first assist as a Ranger. And Steiner basically shoots it in. Zibanejad wins the battle. A little bit of back and forth between him and Taylor Radish, but a really nice pass by Zibanejad to find Panarin, who's able to score past Cam Talbot. And there you go. A goal and 2 assists for Panarin. So he's had 2 really good games from a points perspective. 4 points at Montreal, 3 points at Detroit. But hopefully here, this again, shaving his head can be the impetus to get him going, and gives Zibanejad credit for a couple of really nice primary assists as well. And the Rangers weren't done with Sherry basically taking the Cooley spot, as I think what was kind of happening there. Less than a minute after the Panarin goal, Lafreniere scores a second goal of the season from Sherry, 8:27. Again, a really nice bank pass by Sherry. Lafreniere kind of goes in on a mini breakaway and is able to kind of do a little pump fake, get the leg up, and go 5-hole past Cam Talbot. That's a nice skilled goal by Lafreniere, using a little bit of speed, using some, again, like there is talent in Alexis Lafreniere that we don't see nearly enough. And so that's good too. A lot of boxes checked in this game, that being one of them for Lafreniere. Makes it 4-1 Rangers. Then there was a bench minor. We don't know exactly what it was. Strange. Rangers up 4-1. Mike Sullivan, who said at the game that he didn't say what it was, but at 8:39, called for unsportsmanlike conduct. Like, if somehow that led to Detroit coming back, that would have been like a much bigger story, but Rangers call it off. And that's the thing sometimes with the way games go. Like, certain things get forgotten about based on the events that happen after it. And so it stays 4-1. And then at 14:06, like I said, there's that fight between Hamelash and Hamonic. And Hamelash really got some good blows in there, some good right punches on Hamonic. Wasn't a fight that lasted very long in the neutral zone. Again, kind of a very much a surprise of a fight. But the Rangers really did a nice job. Once they made it 4-1, it was pretty much locked in. And the Rangers went on the road again. Here's the crazy thing, too, as far as just the extremes that I talked about. You have the home road extremes, but as well, the Rangers are second worst in the NHL as far as goals for per game. The only team that's worse than them is Calgary, who the Rangers lost to. Ironically, their only regulation loss. On the flip side, the Rangers have the number one goals against per game. So you gotta like that. Like, and as much as you look, if the Rangers lose to the Islanders at home and the home woes continue, believe me, I will be very vocal about that and that it's a problem and that it's bad. And I still think that the Rangers' lack of goal scoring is in the long run problematic. However, everything being totally equal, even though it may not be as fun, if you told me that the Rangers, it's two choices. It's this, which is basically the Rangers are the stingiest team as far as allowing goals, but they don't score them. Or the other way around, the Rangers score goals all over the place, but they're also giving them up. This is better. This is better for the long run and for sustained success. Um, and that's something the Rangers should be proud of. Really, it's been good goaltending, but it really has been good overall, good team defensive play. Now, there were some games, of course, where that wasn't the case, but by and large, through 15 games now, they've done a really nice job in that department. So it's something to be proud of. Again, being number one in the league as far as goals against, on a per game basis, that's good stuff. So now I was at the Rangers, and this is going to be really interesting. It's going to be Matthew Schaefer's Rangers' first game against Matthew Schaefer, who's gotten off to a really great start as a rookie, number one overall pick. It's going to be, in all likelihood, Shesterkin versus Sorokin, which is a matchup we've seen plenty of times. It's been a rough go of it this year for Sorokin. Islanders are coming off of a loss at home to Minnesota where they did not play very well. David Riddick was in net for that one. So Islanders are going to be hungry for many reasons. Obviously, with it being, Rangers versus Islanders, of course. And, again, I think that there is something to be said for teams coming off a loss compared to coming off of wins. Look, Minnesota, for example, was coming off a loss just the night before to Carolina. What do? They go to UBS Arena and they beat the Islanders pretty handily. So I think this is going to be one of the more interesting games, in this sort of early go in the season, game 16. Rangers, looking to finally win a home game. And if they lose this one, it'll break the record. They tied the record for winless games to start a season at home at 6. If they lose to Islanders, it'd be 7, which would, again, break that tie that they had in 1944, 1950. But it's going to be an interesting one. And I was thinking, I can't think of many games in recent past of Islanders-Rangers Saturday night games, whether that be at MSG or if the Islanders were the home team, but really specifically at MSG, it's not ringing a bell. And again, that's more of it's not really so relevant to the conversation as far as the Rangers as a team, but just the thought that I had. I don't know. It feels a little bit foreign to me, but looking forward to it. I think it'll be, crowd should be into it. I think it'll be one of those centennial nights for the Rangers where they'll be wearing those 100th anniversary jerseys, which haven't really treated them well so far because, really any jersey they wear at home has not done the job. Maybe they need to wear the whites. Maybe they need to go back to that. Maybe that'll kind of change their luck. But, this will be a pretty big one for all the reasons I laid out. But the Rangers' road dominance continues. They go to Detroit. They win 4-1. They're 7-1-1 on the road. And Artemi Panarin shaves his head and gets a 3-point performance. Noah Laba comes home and scores the game-winning goal. And Jonathan Quick just has really looked fantastic in his first 4 starts of the season. And now it's a quick turnaround. It'll be a back-to-back. And the second game of it will be a home game against the New York Islanders.